Good afternoon. My name is Kenan Widener. I'm a nurse at Lancaster General Hospital on 8 Lyme, which is medical surgical oncology. And for the past few weeks, in my research in healthcare class, I have looked at studies regarding acupuncture as treatment for allergic rhinitis. So the problem was identified pretty well by Chen, Jin, Yu, Fang, and Huang, that allergic rhinitis has a 10 to 25% prevalence worldwide. Some common interventions to deal with allergic rhinitis are costly air purifiers, frequent carpet cleaning, your Benadryl, your Claritin, your Zyrtec. Some people go as far as immunotherapy. Many of those drugs have side effects, and air purifiers, carpet cleaning, essentially retrofitting your house and your place of living to be allergy friendly or allergic rhinitis friendly can be very expensive. How this identifies with the patient population at Lancaster General Hospital is that patients on 8 Lyme frequently are also followed at Ann Barshinger Cancer Institute, and there is an acupuncturist. There's actually two acupuncturists over there that administer acupuncture for a variety of reasons. So the purpose of this presentation will be to review the 5 studies that I found regarding acupuncture for allergic rhinitis. The PICO question, the P, which is the population, this is adults suffering from symptoms of allergic rhinitis. The intervention is acupuncture as treatment for the symptoms of allergic rhinitis. The comparative would either be current treatment with medications or no treatment, or as a few of the articles use the term sham acupuncture. And the outcome would be, is there a change or is there an improvement in symptoms when acupuncture is used to treat allergic rhinitis? So the overall research question would look like, in adults suffering from allergic rhinitis, what impact does acupuncture have on allergic rhinitis symptoms compared to current treatment or no treatment? So for my literature search, I actually started using Google Scholar. However, I did not retrieve any of the journal articles from Google Scholar. I used a discovery tool which searches multiple databases from my institute's library website, which is Pennsylvania College of Health Sciences. It was their discovery tool. It does search multiple databases simultaneously. The key words that got hits were acupuncture, allergic rhinitis, randomized controlled trial, sham acupuncture. When I used Google Scholar, I saw that there was a wealth of information on acupuncture for allergic rhinitis. Once I found one good article, it was easy to link concurrent articles. A date range was set that any study published before 2013 would be excluded. So all 5 of these articles were published in 2013 or more recently. Only primary research articles were included. Systemic evaluations were excluded. These were all primary research studies. So for the literature synthesis, just to give you an overview of some of the articles, 2 were very high level quality. They were multi-center randomized controlled trials. Again, that was Brinkhouse et al. And Choi et al. 2 were at single site randomized controlled trials, so that falls just a step below the multi-center. And then 1 was a non-randomized controlled trial. They did explain that because their research was a little particular in that they were using acupuncture versus standard medication, that they wanted adherence to whichever group you were in. They allowed the participants to choose their group based on what they felt they would be able to adhere to. Out of all 5 articles, none of them truly used a random sample strategy. They were all essentially manners of convenience. But the first 4 trials listed, they did randomly assign to groups with computer software their individuals. So that did make up for the lack of a true random sample. Sample sizes range from 61 to 422 participants. The basis of the studies, 3 of them compared acupuncture as opposed to sham acupuncture. Essentially what they defined as sham acupuncture was acupuncture that did not use a true acupoint or that did not go to a true effective acupuncture depth. And then one study, Xiaoping et al., they were actually evaluating the use of a new acupoint, one that had not been considered for allergic rhinitis before, and they used sham acupuncture at that same acupoint. They just did not go to what is considered a traditional therapeutic depth. And then lastly, one study compared the traditional acupuncture, similar to the top 3 studies, Brinkhouse, Choi, Zhu et al., but they compared it strictly against medication. So again, sham acupuncture was using acupoints that weren't really acupoints and that they would also go to a depth that was not considered therapeutic. The authors of all the researches that refer to sham acupuncture, they do admit that sham acupuncture is not a true placebo, that it is, while not likely, theoretically possible that even sham acupuncture could relieve symptoms of allergic rhinitis. The studies that were a true randomized controlled trial were blinded. The participants were blinded as to which group they were in. The physicians evaluating them were blinded as to which group participants were in. The data collectors were blinded as to which group participants were in. The only ones not blinded were the acupuncturists themselves because they had to deliver either the true or sham acupuncture. One common measurement tool that I saw across multiple of the articles was the Total Nasal Symptom Score, or TNSS. One article did not specifically reference the Total Nasal Symptom Score, but the scoring that they used was identical to it. I'm not sure why it was not mentioned by the name Total Nasal Symptom Score, but this seems to be a strong tool. I saw in older articles that became before 2013, so the validity of that tool seems to be strong. It uses a scale of 1 to 3 points in 4 symptoms of allergic rhinitis. Another interesting part of the research that I did was the studies. 3 of the studies allowed rescue medication, and to clarify, rescue medication is not a life-saving, epinephrine shot. It's your symptoms are so bad to the point where you need to do something about them. So your Claritin or your Zyrtec or the rescue medication, they actually recorded the total dosage of rescue medication. So I thought that was effective, that they were measuring, was the real acupuncture participants using more or less rescue medication. So all of the studies found statistical evidence to support that real acupuncture provided relief of symptoms for allergic rhinitis as opposed to sham acupuncture. The study that evaluated the sphenopalatine acupuncture point found that that was statistically significant in relieving symptoms as compared to sham acupuncture at the sphenopalatine acupoint. And then the last study found that acupuncture compared to treatment, there was actually no difference in the relief of symptoms, which suggests that acupuncture works at least as well as your oral medications and your inhaled agents for treatment of allergic rhinitis. One theme that was identified throughout the multiple research studies was acupuncture is not a long-term solution for symptoms of allergic rhinitis. It seems the 4 to 8 week period, 4 weeks being when they have received treatment, as opposed to 4 weeks after for the 8 weeks, it was still effective, but going out further, 12, 16 weeks, it was no longer effective when they had stopped receiving it. Lastly, it was interesting to note that the studies that came from an area of the world sort of with an Asian culture or an Asian population, they seemed more ready to accept that the results were clinically significant, whereas studies from Germany and Australia showed statistical significance, but they were questioning the clinical significance of things such as cost, being able to go to get acupuncture 2 or 3 times a week during allergy season. So it was interesting to note the difference in region and culture. So my recommendations for practice would be patients on 8-Lyme or at Ann Barshinger Cancer Center. Because there were statistical findings to support acupuncture in all 5 studies within the past 5 years, I would encourage them to speak with their primary physician or oncologist to determine if acupuncture would be right for them. And if that is determined to be safe, I would have them speak to the acupuncturists at the ABBCI. I would have them approach it with cautious optimism, because just because it showed statistical significance doesn't mean that every person will have a marked relief of symptoms. So I would also recommend keeping a lookout for continued research findings in this field of study. So in conclusion, acupuncture did improve symptoms of allergic rhinitis on a short-term basis versus sham acupuncture. It also had comparable effects as opposed to typical medication for allergic rhinitis. Also, individuals receiving real acupuncture had a reduction in use of rescue medication as opposed to individuals who had sham acupuncture. Also, acupuncture at the sphenopalatine acupoint did relieve symptoms of allergic rhinitis as opposed to sham acupuncture at that site. And acupuncture, again, had comparable effects to your standard medication for relief of allergic rhinitis. This is a page for references. Again, it was easy to find. Once one good article is found, it's easy to identify similar articles in each article's bibliography. These 5 were just the most recent and randomized and primary research, which is why they were chosen over other articles. Thank you very much.